I made this video about 2 months ago talking about the downfall of Boom Beach, and today I also just really want to dive into how Clash of Clans played a big role in that, since I had only briefly mentioned it in that video. And I also want to talk about how Boom Beach could possibly have come out on top, and what everything would look like if that happened, so let's get right into the video. Boom Beach was soft launched a bit over a year after Clash of Clans came out, and the game would end up going global just a few months later in March of 2014. This was at a time in which Clash of Clans was just becoming more and more popular, and it was pretty clear that Supercell created Boom Beach in order to capitalize off of Clash of Clans, since the core gameplay of the games would be pretty similar, and you could say that the game was just doomed from the beginning as it was meant to be a copy, meaning it wouldn't become more popular than what it was copying. However, the game was still different enough that it could be considered unique, and it would definitely have an opportunity to become bigger than Clash of Clans. However, that opportunity was a lot smaller than something like Clash Royale, since that game still capitalized off of Clash of Clans, but the gameplay was so much more different and unique. But as for Boom Beach, it would be pretty successful at the beginning, with it obviously gaining a ton of hype, and there were just a bunch of people going from Clash of Clans to this new game because it seemed interesting and unique, but also familiar as it was similar to Clash. A majority of the audience of this game was just people from Clash of Clans, and that is really where I feel like the main problem was. If you look at the Google Trends chart for Clash of Clans and Boom Beach, then you can see how Boom Beach really was just under the shadow of Clash of Clans, because that game was absolutely peaking around that point, and that was both a good and a bad thing. It was good as it meant there were more potential players that would check out Boom Beach, but it was also bad because it was just harder competition. You can see that the peak of Boom Beach is really about the average state of Clash of Clans, and now Boom Beach is honestly quite irrelevant. But anyways, one big problem with Boom Beach was how it really didn't seem to have its own unique audience, and that most players simply came from Clash of Clans. This would give it a big boost like we saw, however it would also end up crushing the game because it just wasn't able to create its own identity, and most people saw it as a Clash of Clans alternative rather than its own unique game. This reputation just made it hard for the game to grow, and I can guarantee the game would have done a lot better if it had a different player base of people who didn't play Clash of Clans, but that was also obviously kind of hard since it seemed like everyone had played Clash of Clans. But the main problem would really be with the churn rate, since it seemed like people would play Boom Beach for a bit and then just go back to Clash of Clans, since they were just more progressed in that game and didn't feel like doing it all over again with Boom Beach. I don't know the exact numbers, but I would assume that the churn for a player coming from Clash of Clans was a lot higher than someone that hadn't played Clash of Clans before. So overall, it seems like Boom Beach's reliance on the popularity and players of Clash of Clans was both a blessing and a curse. But another reason for Clash of Clans coming out on top was simply because that game was just updating and growing at a much faster pace than Boom Beach. I mean, in this time period, you would have the addition of the hero abilities as well as the clan wars, and those were just absolutely massive things inside of Clash of Clans, and gave a good reason for people to dedicate their time to just this game. Instead of spending a little bit of time just playing Boom Beach on the side, people would instead decide to spend that time for the clan wars or something, and that just played a big role in the high churn rate. And don't get me wrong, Boom Beach was also definitely making a lot of updates and adding stuff, but it was more like the usual early game stuff. Meanwhile, Clash of Clans was a bit further along, and they were able to work on just more new and bigger things rather than setting up the game like Boom Beach was. So it seems like Clash of Clans just doing so well actually made Boom Beach do worse, and this is kind of crazy considering both of these games were under the same company, and it almost seemed like a conflict of interest. Despite the game being unique, it just wasn't unique enough to be different enough from Clash of Clans. The main unique part about it would just be the walls, in my opinion, because Boom Beach obviously didn't have any walls. This definitely would feel really weird to someone coming from Clash of Clans, because walls were really like a big deal at the time in that game, so that in itself could have been enough to make some people just automatically not like the game, but personally I did find it interesting. On top of that, the attacking was also kind of unique because you could only attack at one side, and you would send boats of troops instead of individually placing each one, which was definitely a bit different. Just those two things would make this game a bit boring when it came to base design in my opinion, because the meta was really to just put defenses up front and everything else in the back. There really wasn't all that much uniqueness, and the bases would all end up feeling kind of the same after a point. Now, this all could have actually been really good if people just had never experienced the Clash of Clans attacking, in which you could attack from all sides and where you just had a bit more control of where you deployed your troops and how you built out your strategy. This would also make the attacking in Boom Beach kind of boring, as it would end up becoming the same thing over and over again at different stages of the game, since that is just how the game progressed. This would overall make the game feel less involved than Clash of Clans, and that would lead to people quitting. And so far, we have just seen how Clash of Clans seemed to overshadow Boom Beach in pretty much every way, and that is the main reason it didn't end up doing too well. Boom Beach would end up trying different things like adding warships, and while this did bring a lot more attention to the game for a bit, it ended up dying off pretty quickly because the implementation of warships wasn't that good in my opinion, and I explained more about that in my original video. And there would also be the spin-off game of Boom Beach, which was Boom Beach Frontlines, and they just made the massive mistake of basing their game on a game that was pretty much dead, and that is why Frontlines would actually end up being shut down. And now at the present day, Boom Beach is the worst performing Supercell game, with it getting a little over 100k downloads and about $1.3 million in the last month, with iOS and Android combined, which is far below all of the other Supercell games. However, it is still important to realize that those are very impressive numbers for a game as old as Boom Beach, and there are plenty of publishers out there that would happily take those numbers. This means that the game isn't like completely dead, and it does still have a relatively small but tight community. But something else I actually want to talk about is just how the game would perform if it was published today, since it seems like a big reason for the failure of the game was just the timing. In my personal opinion, I think that Boom Beach would actually be a lot more successful if it was published today, and there are a couple of reasons why. First of all, Clash of Clans isn't as big now as it used to be, and there are also plenty of people that aren't too happy with the current state of the game, and I'm sure they would be extremely happy to try out another game that is kind of similar to Clash of Clans. This does still have the same situation of Clash of Clans players coming to Boom Beach. However, in this case, I think the churn would be a lot less because Boom Beach is actually a really good game, and people would be more open to that now compared to when Clash of Clans was at its peak. Also, Boom Beach does just have a much better storyline than Clash of Clans, and I personally think that the animations for Boom Beach were really cool, and it just had really cool characters, and that is something people would just appreciate a lot more today, in my opinion. This would also help it stand out from Clash of Clans, and I just overall think that Boom Beach could be a massive game if it was released now, and it could probably have done better 1 or 2 years ago. That is because we didn't have Squad Busters, and when Brawl Stars wasn't as big, and it was also before Town Hall 16, and that would just have been the perfect time to release a game like Boom Beach. But that obviously isn't going to happen. However, I just wanted to point it out to show how much of an impact timing can have, because Boom Beach does just have a lot of potential. However, it is regarded as a dead game now, and most people just won't give it a chance. But that's also it for this video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed, and also make sure to let me know what you all think of Boom Beach down in the comments. But with that, I'll see you all in the next one.